portraiture in its most conventional sense is the idea of a single frame, of a single image that can tell everything about its subject and its character.
The first thing that came to mind when I think about a beautiful photograph is something that feels sort of soulful to me, that has some sense of the photographer's spirit in it.
Photography holds up a mirror to us as to what we're about. To me, it's about people more than anything else.
Connecting is a process. It's a very human process. So in some situations, you wait to feel comfortable yourself to interact with the subject.
And that's why I'm very protective of the people I photograph, which mainly are performers. It's so hard. I mean, when you're on the other side and you know how much you see in somebody.
I started using myself as the model. At first, I didn't really know how it would look like because I'm always on the other side of the camera. And I liked the results, so it became a series.
You know, you're kind of a one-man band. Often you're just kind of following your own nose and your own instincts, and you're just out kind of exploring, having kind of an adventure.
It's arresting, and it also has a sense of presence. And you can put it in an album, or you can put it in a drawer, you can hang it on the wall. It's there to be used and to be seen. And it's like a Bible in a hotel room. You know, it's there, and no one's going to steal it.
In the case of portraiture, that a number of artists have said, you know, I'm just taking self-portraits. And it really has a lot to do, I think, with the people they choose, the sorts of things they want to look at, but usually, you know, it's their subjects that reflect very much their interest, their desire, again, what they want to see. But it very much reflects their interest and their way of seeing, and in the end, it's not only about their subject, but it's very much about their way of looking at something.
I love pictures of people, you know, sleeping on the bench and lovers on the bench, and there's all kinds of people playing chess and doing all sorts of frisbee. It's a really very visual place. I never work in the sun. I always go to the. Oh yeah. I don't know if you can see this. This is the last picture on the roll from Morocco, Marrakesh. Anyway, no, I was saying, I'm on one job I worked on. They used to call me the Prince of Darkness because I used to shoot just before sunrise. So I have the whole crew out on the set, and we're waiting for the sun to rise. So, but anyway, let's walk down here. I think people, when you first encounter them, they try and put on a particular mask. And I don't want people to try and look a certain way. I want them to just be completely natural and just themselves without a kind of grinning or smiling or putting on some silly expression. This is one of my favorite pictures here. This is a picture I took in 1984. This is the women in the dust storm. That traditional dress, whether it was a turban or a sari or whatever, it evolved over hundreds or thousands of years. And then within a generation, they discard it and put on a baseball cap and a T-shirt, and then we're, you know, so that individuality, that uniqueness, it kind of starts to disappear, and it's really sad. Let's see what else I have here. I was in a small village called Brindavan. Widows are sent here. In India, being a widow is sort of a stigma, it's sort of a bit of bad karma or bad luck. So widows are kind of shunted off to this particular village. She was around 80 and had been living in this village as a widow since she was 14, and she could barely walk. She invited us to her home. We went there, and she gave us some tea and had this really wonderful sense of humor. And I started thinking, somebody who has such bad luck in life and somebody who has such misfortune and somebody who can actually still be joyous and have a good attitude and a sense of humor, that's a real special person. There's this commonality of humanity which comes through. Although they look different, they maybe be a nomad living in a tent, but fundamentally they're just the same as you or I. It's always good to have all your cameras set so that as soon as you see something, you can pounce. The most fun is actually to go to a city or a place with your camera and literally just walk around and explore. Initially, it's not really about pictures, it's just about enjoying life and about enjoying the day and about discovering things around you which you normally wouldn't. When you can kind of relax and get into that zone of just being in the moment, not thinking about tomorrow or yesterday or what I'm going to have for dinner, but really just focusing on what's around you at that particular point in time.
I love studio portraits. I think that, there's a concentration that goes on in that work. When you're working just one-on-one with someone in a studio, there is there has to be some sort of connection, something happens there.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Great. And come back to me, René. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, good. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful, René, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, hold on, hold on. Yeah, good. Great. Go away again, René. René, let me see if you close that one. Pull a little bit on it. Yeah, good, good. Okay. Yeah, and then you can do anything. I'm just going. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, good, good, René. Good, good. Excellent. The problem when you are compulsive and addictive as I am is that it feels so good that you keep going because you want to kind of repeat it or just stay in that moment. Sometimes you have to keep shooting because you are not there yet, and so in a way it's very much to do with also the repetition, and then to take the picture, and then somehow it becomes less important and people kind of relax also. The less dramatic, the less production around them, make it also like a sense of trust, Yeah, great. Go to the light, Kaylin. Yeah, good, good. Stay there. Beautiful. Yeah. Good. And actually, I think after, Kaylin, when we'll do something without the table and you could be make the gesture. Could be beautiful.
This will feel very awkward and look really stupid because I won't feel it because I have no music or anything.
Oh, maybe we can play some music. Good, yeah, beautiful, Kaylin, beautiful. Just go away sometime, and go away, go away. Yeah, good, good, beautiful. I look for something that I recognize, which is something that's rings true to me. You know it when it comes, and I'm very inarticulate about it because it's only instinct. And to me, at that moment, I recognize I felt something that is really has to do with connection and intimacy, And I always try to have people at their best, not but themselves. As you know, and that's why I don't use like. I'm staying away from fashion, and I'm staying away from ideas or a produced shoot. I mean, I think I was very influenced by my father, who wanted to be a photographer all his life, and his parents would not think. It was right after the war, Second World War. I was very lucky, because I was like helped that way by him and by my mother. I had no idea that it will be my life, and that it will turn out to be a vocation, but it did. And if anything, as I get older, it gets even more essential and pronounced and, focused. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And Gracie, I just want to feel the beginning in your eyes of your smile. Just a very, very, beautiful. Gracie, stay there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Gracie, beautiful. There are people that have been in my life for 20, 25, 30 years that I follow. And then it developed in a true deep friendships. From Meryl Streep to Daniel Day-Lewis, Kevin Kline, John Malkovich, the painter.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But it's a mishmash for now because it's not the final thing. But this is Warren Beatty, Helen Mirren, that's Gina Rowland. Like I will have in this new book, I will have series. There's a few people that I follow for 25 years and more sometimes. One of them is Meryl. It was 77, I think. It's just... section on Marty. Matt Damon in The Departed. Louise Bourgeois.
Oh, yes. Each photograph. You can't say, "Oh, this photograph is just like another one." Each one has its own character.
Oh, that's a good.
Really, I mean, this is so. It's another face, but quite different.
Good, Albert. Oh, another one, Robert Altman.
Wait a minute, who is that?
Very charming. Close to you and to me.
Antonini. No, I mean, what's his name? What's his name?
It's you, Albert.
No.
It's you, Albert. It's you.
Is that funny? I think this guy's an Italian filmmaker. That is so funny.
And go away again, Bonnet. Go away. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. It's almost like, doing a study. It's almost like doing a study of your face. So if you look away and then you come back and then I have a different angle of 3/4 and then you come back and you are right there. But remember to be very grounded with your feet and good. Okay. Yeah, beautiful, Bonnie, beautiful. Stay there, Gracie. Don't move. Don't do anything. Just with your eyes, Gracie. Just with your eyes. Just come to me. Yeah, beautiful. Stay there. I can be maybe too protective sometimes of the people I love and work with on and on again, No matter if it's a personal portrait or if I've been hired to execute a portrait, for a magazine, or no matter if you are going to, it's a long-standing relationship with someone or if you are never going to see them again. I mean, I have to insist just for myself, for the pleasure and the beauty of it, that it will be the most honest, the most direct, the most, intimate that you can. I mean, there is various degrees of success, of course, but that's what you hope for.
I always feel like there's a big green sign on me that says, he's different, And an art director friend of mine once said, there's one thing about you, it doesn't matter what group, you don't belong. You don't fit in anywhere. You're always going to stand out. But I feel like, and this is something I tell my classes, that catch-22 works our way as a photographer, that if you're just standing around and not doing anything that's that important, you're going to have nothing to do but notice me. But if you're involved and you're doing something interesting, not only are you going to not notice me, whatever you're doing, you'll probably understand why I want to photograph it. And that's the supposition that I go on. So let me get one of you. Get him to look more directly. You want to look up his nose? For me, most of the fun is finding something out there that's interesting, not creating it. If it ain't there, move on and just do something else that attracts you and is wonderful. You can tell the truth. If you see something you think is ugly, you can photograph it so it's ugly. If you see something that you think is beautiful, let yourself be moved by it and go on from there. But you don't have to make diamonds out of crap. When I talk to students, I don't call anything composition. I think that's pretentious to say you're composing something. You're not. It's out there. All you're doing is framing it and taking that piece of random chaos and making order out of it, or making it more chaotic, depending upon what you want. Everybody approaches it in a different way. Yes, you can come up with similar pictures, but it's a very individualistic look of sorting out what's in front of you. Take a random moment in time and put it in a two-dimensional context.
I have to get up close to really see this face.
We did it for Gannett newspapers. I have somebody leaning out the window and holding up the copy of USA Today. And I get a call from the art director, and he says, I can't read the body type on a newspaper. No, actually, I said to him, well, if you made a better print, you could. Because I could read it on my film. Yeah. We got very, very close. You can't get close like that. They won't let you get that close anymore. This room is about circles. This is all things circular. It's insane, isn't it? Now this is about shape and color and form and how they shape and color fight each other. Shape and color always fight each other. If the shape is too exciting, it overshadows the color and vice versa. These are my ransom notes. These are letters that I picked up that weren't originally meant to be letters.
Mm-hmm. Where do you find everything?
Doesn't matter, wherever it is. My daughter, up until the time she was about 7, would say, oh, Dad, there's an interesting piece of wood, or there's something. And now, when I walk near a dumpster, she goes, oh, God. I don't get that much of a kick about nature. I like the hand of man. I like landscapes that look like they've been tampered with. I like the despoiling influence of civilization. I like the literary associations that come with the investment of man in that environment.
They're not photographing you, they're photographing me.
No, non capisco, non entiendo. L'italiano.
No, it's two and one. For me.
For you?
Bella figura.
Why?
Bella figura.
Bella figura.
This must be the corner. It's 5 people smoking cigars over here. They're all attracted to you. That's what it is.
You're in my picture. Get out of my picture, will you? You guys get the out of this. It's only gonna last for a minute.
I think photographing is an act of love. I think we photograph things because we love them. The product is the byproduct. The act of seeing is the moment of fun. That's it, man. If it never happens on a film, it's a tragedy, but you've had that. If it does happen on a film, and you are able to show it to anybody, that's the icing on the cake. If it actually adds to your career or your money, that's the cherry on top.
This exhibition really focuses on 3 bodies of work that are most sort of emblematic of the changes in Susan's working process and are really her most fully developed project. And even the work that seems to be less clearly portraiture, such as her war photography in Central America, her later work in Kurdistan, all of it, I think, in some sense is portraiture. If it's not of an individual, it's of a historical process or a community, and it's always sort of rooted in that early idea of including the voices of the subjects in the work.
Do I feel confident that I always know that I'll get it? It's work to get it. What's the it? And then is it real? That's what you're asking. And I mean, all I know is that I trust my instincts of where to be, where to place myself. Sometimes I'm not exactly where I want to be, but when I'm there, I know I'm in the right relationship to the reality, let's say. Especially when you're dealing with history, you know, I think, have you captured all the subtlety? Did you understand it well enough? And you have very little time in this kind of reportage, you have very little time to reflect, but there's no doubt that it happened.
This is sort of interesting for me because this room is very quiet and very reflective space, I think. Or we're trying to make it a contrast to the immersive space of the Nicaragua war. And to just see how long people look at a case of images from half a century ago. So I really love this room just to see. It's kind of like a study hall. It's fun.
One of the things I think is interesting when you do a show, which is very different than a book, I mean, you have the same problem when you construct, you take the work that you've done, you try to make it into a kind of narrative. You know, people have thought of the Nicaragua book as somewhat cinematic, and I think there was an influence of cinema in a certain way of telling a story that sort of has a progression. I mean, I'm here a few times now and fascinated by just whatever we thought we were doing to both immerse people and to give people a very different kind of relationship to the material, how they respond to it. If it seems to grab them and hold them and involve them, I mean, it's always a challenge with photography. I mean, whatever brought me to make the photograph, the next stage is, does it move anyone else? Does it connect anyone else to the realities that I've faced and tried to in some way transform or communicate? You know, through this image-making process, it's mysterious. I mean, I think the important thing for me has been that I begin a process, but I never know where it's going to take me. Now, the image that's on the cover of the Strippers, the book, is exactly what I remember seeing that locked me in, seeing a woman on this kind of auction block, selling herself or her sex. Who is she? How does she see herself? You know, those were the questions that led me to go for several summers into the world of trying to understand what was this girl show? How did it operate? What kind of work did it demand? What were their lives like?
Photojournalism is quite a different sort of portraiture. I don't think most people would think of it as the portrait because the context is so much larger. It goes beyond being a street portrait. It's about a larger context of that person's life or moment. I mean, I think often when a portrait comes out of that sort of material, it's almost accidental.
When I began as a photographer, getting inside was very difficult. Knocking on the door was scary, you know, so getting inside is a process. Obviously quite different when there are a series of very dramatic events surrounding you. You know, these are things that there are no rules. It's an intuitive process, but somebody being willing, be they the individual of the institution or a subject kind of welcoming you, you know, that's the moment that you hope for, to be trusted enough. And I take the responsibility of that very seriously in exchange, you know.
This issue.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's really a great moment.
Oh, that's wild. Right. So you were, what, 5 when you saw that photograph?
Yeah, I think so, right?
So he was 5 years old when he saw the cover of Geo magazine, which is in that display, and he was saying that he learned to read from looking at magazines and looking at pictures in magazines. You never know. You never know. But I mean, I do feel like when I look at people looking at photographs, that's the question, you know, what are they processing? What are they taking from it? And we don't have any way to know, usually.
There is a great responsibility to your subjects and to be aware of how the images might be used and to try to control that in some way, but it's extremely difficult. None of us would ever know anything about anything else going out in the world if we didn't have, you know, filmmakers, photographers, writers who were interested in doing that.
It has to do with the way they think. For me, with contemporary photography, it's more about the way the artist is thinking and working, and it's just their view of the world, and that's what's really exciting.
Being on the other side of the camera, it makes you just do things and then think about it afterwards. I mean, while I'm taking the photograph, I don't know what it's gonna look like. I've also heard people say, you know, it looks like the figure is the last remaining human being on Earth, or, you know, they love the contrast between the female body and the harsh kind of male environment. So we're going to power plant. I've been there twice before. Last time I went there was actually a couple of weeks ago. I didn't feel that I got the perfect picture I wanted. There's one spot that I really like. There are all these crazy machines, and it looks like it looks almost like a city of lost machines. I mean, it's just a massive abandoned power plant with all these rusting turbines, and I mean, it's just a visually gorgeous place.
Prepare to exit.
There's no barbed wire here, so we can jump this fence. 2 weeks ago, the fence over there was wide open. They put barbed wires around it and they totally sealed it up. Unless we get some really heavy-duty clippers, I don't think we can get in that way. The simpler way might be to just jump over this fence. The only problem is I see a truck there, and there's a workshop right in the front of the power plant, and the lights are on, so it might get seen easily. Yeah, you never know how it's gonna change, like next day, you know. You scout it out 2 days beforehand and it's already sealed up, you know. That's happened to me a couple times. It might be less noticeable to go in from this side. I think of these spaces as the subconscious of the city, the forgotten. Most people don't get to see them every day, and most people don't even know that they exist, but they're there, and there's a lot of history and a lot of memories in these spaces, and I want to preserve those memories in a creative way. Oh, I found a hole. First, I walk around the space and check out different spots and see which one would be best. This light is gorgeous here. So I walk around and snap some pictures, just quick snapshots. And then when I find the exact spot that I really like, then I set the camera on tripod and put it on self-timer. I've only worked with digital cameras so far. I use Nikon digital SLR. When you go into these places, you have to be very quick. A lot of times you don't have time to, really sit there and think about, how to compose and how to, adjust exposure, and film just generally takes more time. It just has to be quick, and digital is a great way to do it. I started doing that because I didn't have a remote at the time. I thought that would be the easiest way to, do self-portrait. It gets tiring sometimes running back and forth. It's also enjoyable. I really like the process because you get to really feel the space. I don't mind feeling the rust and the decay, really, literally feeling it with my bare skin. I think it's really part of the whole experience. That thing is huge. Wow. Most pictures I do, I don't put my face in it. I don't go close. So a lot of people think that being nude in front of the camera, it's very intimate, it's personal, but for me, I don't think it is. It actually makes it less personal because I'm not wearing my clothes, this expressing my fashion or culture. I get scared every time. I get really, really scared. I think that's why it's addictive, in a way. Maybe I want to overcome my fears. Once you're in there, you forget about everything, and then, it's still a pretty rough environment. There are still a lot of dangers, and when you come back out, you feel so relieved. I like that feeling.
The area of practice that I'm more immersed in is documentary and photojournalism, which is less about straightforward portraiture, but obviously intersects with it in many ways. And there is a great responsibility to your subjects and to be aware of how the images might be used and to try to control that in some way, but it's extremely difficult.
I like Davidson's work a lot. He seems to work in, as many photographers do, in kind of a series and as a project. Especially the East 100th Street project was a very important one.
I start at 5 in the morning. Sometimes the night before I stick the negative in the enlarger. So when I walk in here after having a strong cup of espresso and a Sara Lee coffee cake, I'm ready to go. And I go in here and I print from 5 to 2 in the afternoon. And that's it. Some days you're not in the mood, you just can't print. Other days you can whip through things. And sometimes I get excited. I can't wait to print this negative, and I get it at 4:30. Surgeons start operating at 4:30, why can't I? I read in the newspaper that there was a gang called the Jokers who had a big rumble in Prospect Park. So I went down and looked them up. I took the subway to Brooklyn, and then I took, they had wounds, you know, and they had lawyers. You know, I don't know what good the lawyers were going to do, but they had lawyers. So I took pictures of their wounds, and that was my first encounter with them. Benji says me and the social worker were the only people that paid any attention to them. They were not only abandoned, but the whole community was abandoned. And they're children, really, and they're depressed, and they're deprived, and they are withdrawn, and they need to be seen. That's what became universal about it. At that time in 1979, New York was more or less in default, and the subways weren't running, they were unsafe, and so I felt compelled to explore the subway. I didn't know the subway very well. It was early in the project, and I didn't know where I was. I was somewhere in Brooklyn. And I looked up, and I saw this guy with this great scar. I always carried the camera out and open, particularly in the daytime. He looked at me, and he said, "Don't take my picture, mister, or I'm going to break your camera." And I said, "Oh, I never photograph anyone without their permission. Let me show you my work." And I crossed over, sat down to him, next to him, and he looked at my little white album that I carried with my pictures, samples of my work. And he looked at the pictures carefully, and he said, "You do good work. You can take my picture." So I crossed back to where I was and took his picture. But those kind of things were happening to me all the time in the subway, because I was making contact with people. I'm going to take a longer time exposure. Oh, yeah, that's great. I feel that my work has a cumulative effect. That is, the body of work, that's the picture. The same thing with East 100th Street, because they have a cumulative effect. Bodies of work are like cubistic paintings that you're trying to see the whole cycle and circle, the double helix of the work. I believe in that. I believe in my work has a cumulative effect, that if you want to see the work, you have to see all of it. So it's little fragments and fractals where one image blends into another image and moves on. It's kind of a chain reaction. Right now, I'm interested in foliage. I'm in my green period. I'm in love with leaves. I never thought it would happen. Trees. I mean, trees excite me. I just finished a project where I photographed old trees in Paris. They're like elephants. They have an intelligence. They know so much. And I'm interested in what they see as opposed to what I see. I find I'm working much simpler. I feel happier going retro now, going back to a silence, an equilibrium, a concentration, and a focus that I might not have been able to do years ago. See, I'm going to just burn in the corner of this a little bit, and over here a little bit. It'll be a little bit better when I make it a little larger and a different day. See this has some detail. It'll dry down a little bit. Could burn in and touch me, but I think his face is good because it's open. It's a good print. They called him Bigfoot. His name was Ed Bragg. He really knew the park. Lived there all year round in the park, different places.
From the beginning of art, of photography, this has been always a subject, and the other human, the other person in the world with you, trying to capture that person as vividly and truly as possible.